right, so Sonia, let's start with you. And we heard from you a little bit earlier today. We know that your work really focuses on inclusion in Web3. Can you talk to us about why this is important? And more, I'm really intrigued by how you are using NFTs to make space for more inclusion in Web3.
Thanks, Cynthia, and absolutely delighted to be up here again with all the wonderful people in Web3 and sharing the space. So let me go back to something that I'm sorry I forgot your name, but Link. Yes, something that Link mentioned earlier when I was narrating my story. Right, Link came up and said, um, when we were in New York, when he was in New York, right, there was obviously this prejudice and bias against Southeast Asians because you think like, oh, you have people coming from the outside and taking away our jobs. And that is the thing. When we don't have a diverse culture, right, a diverse workplace, you don't really get to know each other's stories. So diversity and inclusion is important so that we can all become better human beings, rise above our biases, and eventually get to a world where you no longer have headlines being made when a black male becomes a CEO or a female becomes a CEO. Headlines are being made just purely based on capabilities. It's going to take a while for us to get there, right? But here's the other thing. Our cultures, they also embed certain values in us. And when we get to a workplace which is monolithic, where you just have the same people doing the same stuff, you don't have any innovation. Even by stats, and I'm a person of stats, as you guys know, right? Workplaces that actually have diversified employees, they tend to rake in 2.3 times more in terms of profit percentages than companies that don't have a diverse workplace. So, hey, if people are worried about the numbers, if they think that, oh, if I bring in workforce that is not necessarily qualified and they're trying to just discriminate against them based on their gender, sex, even their gender identity, right, their biases, this is what happens. You're leaving money on the table. So at least let the money be the motivator for you to create that diversified environment. And to me, again, the promise of Web3, right? In terms of the work that we are doing, obviously our collection itself represents that diversity in the art, but at the same time, we're also working on impacting um, impacting the lives of those who are disadvantaged. So one of the things we realized is if we are going to purely focus, and these have also been learnings for me, right? If you're going to purely focus on helping just the community members, right? That hey, if you are from the DEIB crowd and you purchase our NFT, so you have to pay $300 to first get into the community. Then we build a community. And hey, we are going to build an inclusive community. So we realized that that is not going to work, right? So what we thought was we bring together people who want to do social good, right? And they could come from any backgrounds, but we use that social capital to create the impact that we are looking for. Because the folks that we are looking to impact are not going to be the folks who are going to come to the table with $300 in their wallet to buy an NFT.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Now, my next question is for Will. And before I ask this question, Vince actually brought me into the community, but Will was the first person I met IRL. I met him even before the Phoenix conference. And as the first interaction that I've had with this community, I got to just tell you, I could not have felt more welcomed and embraced. And it really set a positive tone for me. So my question for you, Will, is, you have shown so much allyship for women and for people of color. Why? Why is this important?
What's in it for you, Will? What's the utility here?
You got to go there right out of the gate, huh? You got to address the elephant in the room right out of the gate, huh?
Yeah, why is this important for you?
So, Sonia, most of you probably know this about me. I'm not only a story collector, but I'm a storyteller. So let me tell you a story. Let me tell you a story about a young woman from Denver, Colorado, who never lived to see her 40th birthday. She had a vision. She had a vision that no person on this planet should ever go without any basic necessities. I was raised in a household blessed to be by a mother and a father who were free from any racial bias, any gender bias, any sexual orientation bias, any financial bias. I was blessed to be raised in that environment. That is why I am one of the biggest advocates you'll meet for creating a more equal, level playing field for all of humanity. People ask me, why do you join the bees? Well, you know what? I saw the synergy in a combined vision with a similar focus where we could all move forward of one accord. That's why I'm here. I want to see that no living human being ever goes without any basic necessities ever again. And what excites me most about the future and the legacy that I'm creating here, it's not for me. It's not about me. It's not about any of you. It's about future generations. This world and the impact we leave on it, the legacy we leave behind for future generations, what they'll experience, what they'll come into the world experiencing. What is that going to look like? What is that going to be like for generation? I don't know. They're calling it Generation Alpha now. I'm more of an Excel guy. I like to say it's Generation Double Alpha. Okay. Because you go A, B, C, D through Z, and then it's double alpha, right? So, anyways, Link, I got to take it down to some rudimentary levels sometimes because not everybody's on the same page, right? But anyways, what is their world going to look like? So here's a parallel that I draw a lot of the time. Gen Xers, we know our place in society and technology. We literally grew up alongside the personal computer. Millennials, Gen Y, they literally grew up alongside the internet. Gen Zs, they literally grew up along mobile technology. And now Generation Alpha and every successive generation that comes, they're going to grow up with web3, with blockchain technology, with the metaverse, and whatever else we can dream. So that's why, Cynthia, to answer your question, I'm such a big advocate for diversity and inclusion without any bias.
I love it. Thank you so much. All right, Ty, you are really doing a lot of work to support people in economically distressed parts of the world. So, can you talk to us about your work and the greatest needs that you are seeing and how you're using Web3?
Hello. There we go. Yeah, for me, just education, traveling to, economically developing areas and teaching them about this technology. Not so much about what they can benefit from financially, they can find that out through education and learning about this space. I compare this evolution a lot of times to the internet days, the boom, and a lot of those places missed it, right? Um, there wasn't ways to communicate it like we do have now. And so for me, it's what I realized can change the most is in those areas is behavior, trying to teach better behavior, education on the space, and then third, or I guess in no order, but the best decentralized onboarding and offboard ramp that we can build for those areas, which Jorge can talk about in a moment, but education is huge. I'll tell a short story about an NFT, just because you told the story. But the bees did
So you got a one up me now?
yeah, no, it's not. It went up, and but the bees. Long story short, did a giveaway. Long story short, this giveaway happened. The winner was someone in Ecuador. Now this was before I traveled to Ecuador. 4 months down the road, I ended up in Ecuador, and it was the first meeting I held in Ecuador. And I had the person come up to me and he tapped me on the shoulder, spoke very broken English. I had a translator, and so they helped understand. But this happened to be the person that won that giveaway, and what he happened to win was a lazy lion. And at the time, the floor of the Lazy Lions was like 3 ETH, and it was a rare lion. So I told him, that's about 6 ETH right now. And this person had been working for free, no pay for the last 3 years, right? No pay. Um, and telling him what he had and making him understand and educating him what this was, he didn't want to sell it, which is mind blowing to me because he's never had money before. And I just told him this is 6 ETH. And at the time, ETH was like, $4,000, 3,800, right? So that's a lot of money for someone in that area to be able to change not even his life, but the whole community. But what surprised me is he didn't want to sell it. And what I learned is the reason he didn't want to sell it is because that NFT that he got was an opportunity to be educated. It was an opportunity to be part of a community. It was a door to walk through. And he values that door, and he didn't want to sell it. Um, and that's just super powerful to me because I know friends in my hometown. If I gave them something, I say, hey, this is like 6 ETH right now. They're gonna say, well, how do I sell it right now, right? Because they don't value uh, money in that sense, or the community, right? The opportunities that opens up. It's just the money. And I think in economically distressed areas, the more we can educate them about what is going on in this space, um, the more opportunity they'll have to not make the wrong decisions. Because a lot of the governments are um, disruptive. They're destruction. Like I don't even know the words to describe corrupt. Yeah, completely corrupt. Thank you. That's what I was looking for. Completely corrupt. And so leading into the last part I was talking about an onboarding offboarding ramp, um, there's a lot of solutions, especially with Bitcoin, that they're coming out with, but they're all through centralized services in a sense, right? And that'll be great, and it will bring adoption, and it'll bring it faster, especially here in the U.S. But for the economically distressed areas, a centralized onboarding and offboarding platform isn't the solution that they need, in my opinion. Um, and so, you know, it's I guess to round it up is the education of this space and figuring out a way to onboard and offboard them. And then lastly, the main reason I already believed this and then confirmed it when I was in Ecuador, there was someone that we went and got coffee, blah, blah, paid for the coffee. And she was saying thank you because that day, the bank actually withdrew like $400 out of her bank account because they needed it and said it would be reimbursed, in a month or whatever. And so that's problems like in the US I've never experienced. I don't know anyone that has necessarily experienced that, but that's crazy, right? And so that's a problem. Like someone was talking on the panel earlier, if we don't attack that problem right now, we're going to create problems we have to fix later in Web3. Um, and it's important that those areas get in the right way and they're not be able to be manipulated by the higher powers of governments. Um, but yeah, I know that was like a long rabbit hole answer, but that's pretty much what I believe in is just educating and empowering the developing countries around the world.
And Ty, your work is so important, and we thank you for your work. Ty works directly with communities. Yes,
May I build on something that Ty said that really resonated with me real quick?
you may.
Just 1 minute.
Yes.
Thank you. So in Twitter Spaces, we used to have a platform we called the Social Bees University Social Hour. And what Ty's saying right now, I heard that almost every single time we went on Twitter Spaces. We think that the banks in this country are unfriendly to us in getting into crypto. Other countries, it's unconscionable what they're doing to their citizens, not allowing them to freely move their fiat state-sponsored currency into a more peer-to-peer, frictionless cryptocurrency. And it just blows my mind.
Thank you, Will, for that. Okay, so Ty talked about work with communities. Now, Jorge is the powerhouse behind the technology that can really help empower economically distressed communities. So, Jorge, can you just talk a bit about what you're doing? Well, we know why it's important, but how are you doing it?
Yeah. Well, I think that
how has many answers, but just to get
Just
into,
don't rephrase the question, okay?
I won't rephrase the question. Actually, getting into the topic, one of the things I worked on for a while was the fintech sector, enabling unbanked access to savings in a stable currency, USD. When I say stable, it's not that I'm referring to, for example, crypto as unstable. I'm actually referring to bolivares or Argentinian pesos, like actual inflation currencies with hyperinflation. Um, and funny thing, one thing I actually told some guys earlier was, if you held Bitcoin in 2017, 18 at the top, you would have lost less money than holding Argentinian pesos. And people say that Bitcoin's volatile. Try holding your own currency of your country and losing more value in 2 years than Bitcoin in a bear market. That said, one of the things Ty actually mentioned is there's a lot of services that work very well in first world countries and the US and Europe. And that's part because there's like stable policies, and you have a stable government, and regulation is more followed strictly, and it's less arbitrary in a way. But for example, I one of the things I saw doing that was how they closed all crypto exchanges in Venezuela in 2016 and 17. Um, and we've seen how they started pressuring places in Argentina. And one of the things that I've heard, especially working with the bees community, was how some people in Central America have a really hard time and high fees to get into crypto. So there's this barrier to entry, but there's also like problems on stability and crackdowns. And what we did in 2017 to keep our operations is that we never relied on central banking or accounts. What we did was purely peer to peer. And that was a bit more uh, staying away from the full crypto side. It was more enabling them to have a stable currency in the USD one-to-one reserve. But the thing that I also saw is at some point we actually had to teach people how to use VPNs because they started closing our sites. Like they could block our IPs. They control the DNS servers, which are basically when you type Google, whatever Google is basically an IP, and the thing that resolves it is the DNS. But when the service providers are controlled by the government, they can also shut that down or control it. And there's ways around it, but you have to teach people, and it's an education thing. So, for example, one of the initiatives that we started working on for a while now is basically a layer 2 protocol that enables full peer-to-peer marketplaces to allow anyone to exchange crypto fiat secured with multi-sig escrows. Basically, you can also always find people that want to get your crypto for fiat or the other way around. If people are acquainted with local bitcoins, think of a generalized marketplace based on that type of mechanic. But the important thing was, based on the experience, what I think needs to happen is the creation of those types of censorship resistant and more resilient networks. And what we're trying to do at that point is creating simply a layer that anyone can build applications on and create their own marketplaces on that simply can't be shut down. And that's the reason, for example, that product I did with a company couldn't be shut down because it was distributed in thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people. When you enable that type of distribution, what happens is it's very hard for any one institution or government to fully close down. It's kind of like you can't really shut down Bitcoin. You need to pretty much shut the internet down at this point. But we still had like centralized services and other stuff. So what we want to get to is where that layer can be distributed in multiple applications. It's not a single one. Anyone can use it. It doesn't belong to anyone. It simply becomes another protocol layer that enables on and off ramps that can be as simple as you want them to be, or can be a bit more complex. Like you can mix anything. It could be peer to peer and allow easy or trustless peer to peer transactions, but it could also use APIs for banking in stable places. Like when you talk about peer to peer, it doesn't need to be a ton of people or always humans. It can be APIs or other systems. But just to wrap that up, I think that getting to that point and that types of access layers will remove the dependency on centralized exchanges. It will actually remove pressure on centralized exchanges because it'll force the hand of people to adopt a more free stance. Because at that point, it's just another protocol. Like you cannot stop access. And I think that it needs to get to that point where anyone, as kind of a right, has access to go in and out of any financial service they want. And one of my personal opinions is that I think that eventually fiat currencies are essentially a product. So basically, your country's currency should be a product, and you should, by choice, be able to hold that currency. They shouldn't force you not to be able to exchange it or stay with it. They shouldn't force you or be able to take it away from you. Like if they're doing a good job, you will have that currency. But if they're doing a shitty job, they'll lose their customers and transition to other forms of wealth and value. So that's pretty much it.
Great. Thank you, Jorge. So there are economic needs and opportunities all over the world, including in the United States. And I would love for Link to talk about his work as a blockchain educator focused on underserved communities. So, talk to us more about the disparities that you are trying to address in this space.
I'd love to. Before I do, I just want to give a bit of a disclaimer. I'm a disruptor, and I like to speak about things that are uncomfortable so
I
that we
thought you
can
were
make
going to
them.
say you were going to change the questions.
No, is everybody awake? I just want to make sure everybody's awake. Y'all awake? Come on. I know we're talking about finances, but let's make this fun. Let's have a social impact in here. All right, bet. I'm going to start the wave. Okay, you ready? You start. Everybody, put your feet down on the ground. Put your feet on the ground, Ty. All right, let's go. You go. Get up. There we are. We have it. There you go. Everybody. Yay! Bee-haw! All right. All right, I'm just playing. Nah, but seriously, in all seriousness, I like to have difficult conversations because I see things from various scopes. I'm not one of those people who only see things from my side of the fence, right? So when you're talking about social impact and education and educating these people who are disenfranchised, we can call that what it is, the number one thing that we need to focus on is educating them mentally. And the way that they think about themselves. Because I could teach a disenfranchised people how to be wealthy, but if they believe that they should be disenfranchised, I'm casting jewels among swine, as they say, right? So we get into these spheres and we start talking about all of the advancement, but we're leaving behind people mentally. Mentally, these people aren't there because they've experienced so much trauma and been bombarded by that trauma. And even with the comment earlier about New York and being from New York and people being angry, like, why are all the Indians coming and getting all the jobs, all the da-da-da-da, right? I mean, we're from New York, so like we know what it is, right? But we don't look at the fact that, hey, bro, you work at McDonald's. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it's like, if you don't want to work at McDonald's anymore and you want to compete with people from Southeast Asia, then go do the same crap. $300 for tuition? And I was complaining because my father's GI Bill was paying my tuition and I didn't have enough for my refund to get what I wanted. Like, I feel so stupid. I'm serious. And so we have to change that mindset first. So we get into all the coolness. We're marketing to all these people what we like, what we think can do for them. And when we come back into the hoods, I started this because I was in the military. I kept getting deployed. Well, I kept going to different countries, TDYs or whatever. And I would come back home and look for my brother. And I'd be told again he was locked up. and I wanted him to stop going to prison. That's why I started teaching this. So every person I teach, I look at them like my brother. I look at them the way that I look at my brother. I looked at my brother, but if he didn't want that, and at first he didn't, he wanted to be in the streets. So I had to wait until I was almost out of the military for him to be like, bro, little brother, I'm his little brother. He's 13 years older than me. Bro, what's up, man? What's up with this crypto stuff? And then it started to click. And then he started to make more money in crypto than he was making in the streets. And then he started to put on the kids who were selling drugs for him. Let's keep it a buck. And they started to make money in crypto. And then they started to build enterprise in their neighborhoods. That's a mindset shift. And you can't do it. I'm sorry. You can't do it. You can't do it. Like, you can't come into these areas as much as you may love our people. You can't come into, we got to do it. We got to do it. And so we talk about social impact and all these social coins and these NFTs and stuff, but we forget about the people who form the social constructs. And we talk about that guy who had that mindset. I want to build my community. But in our communities, okay, so we got to get there first before we can get to the individual who has a 6 ETH NFT and wants to share it with his community and make as much money off of it so that he can feed his community. So when we talk about these social impact things, it's like, all right, yes, that's why I started. I started because I want our people to see themselves as the creators that they are. If you're talking about creating something and completely removing the middleman, I'm sorry, but we've created a lot that has been stolen from us. So we have to remove that middleman. And it's not just our people. You guys have created stuff that's been stolen. How many times you had a thought and you're like, bro, I think I really need to do this. And then your homeboy's on Facebook talking about what he's about to do. And you're like, yo, I just told you that. I just told you that. So that's what I'm saying. We have to have control over what we emit, what we produce. Because when we control it, nobody's standing over us. Hey, you got 8 hours, you got to work, you go on your break at 12, you got a 15-minute over here. You're looking at them like, dang, okay, all right. And they're making millions off of your product. You produce that, whether you're punching buttons at McDonald's or you're building, programs. How many programmers have been stolen from? How much code has been stolen? So that's what I'm saying. We need to, that's the social impact. That's what I start with, is teaching people, first off, to change their mindset. And once they change their mindset, they see everything that they create as a product or service. And that is when you're ready for Web3.
All right. Now, last but not least, we have Akasha. And I got to tell you, I met Akasha this morning, and Akasha is doing amazing things. He is building a school in Dallas to promote Web3 adoption. He is a doer. And so I asked him to be on this panel at the last minute, and he said yes. So can you please tell us a little bit about your work and why you're doing it?
First off, I'm humbled for the opportunity to be able to speak to you guys. Um, Part of the reason I'm here is because of this guy. It's my brother. Um. Uh-oh.
That just about sums up our relationship. We're done here.
Oh man. So, social impact, right? My mom said never trust a man with no message, right? And this crypto journey for me is a little bit different because I've been here since 2014, not necessarily here, but here. And I've watched the space develop over time, and all of the different ICO phase and the boom. Hey, getting scammed by what's that? Come on, man.
Which one?
Which
Which
one?
one?
Come on.
We
come
got
on.
scammed a lot.
Come on.
In the beginning. We got Mount
well-
Gox. Mount Gox. You remember that one?
Not just that one. I mean, I've been-
Cryptopia. I lost $7,000 on Cryptopia.
Oh, it's a scam.
It's a scam.
No.
Yeah.
What's that guy?
BitConnect.
BitConnect. Oh my God. Hey, so nah. So overall, it's like education to me in this space is extremely important, because how do you protect something where you don't even know where it begins or where it ends or what's new? How do you even know you're innovating? Right? So when we say, all right, we have a school based on blockchain technology, we're not saying we're creating something new. We're building a space where, hey, you're extremely skilled at X, Y, and Z, and the young lady here may have a focus on community drive or development or whatever, and the man in the back has a video camera. What makes crypto or web3 space important, or how do we build something new if we don't even know who we are? So what is your identity, right? So you can't create a society without knowing who you are. And if you don't know who you are, you don't know how you belong. And if you don't know how you belong, you don't know how to build. So what is your contribution?
I got to clap on that one.
Awesome. So I actually have a question for everybody here. Raise your hand if you have an interest in making a social impact through Web3. So most hands are raised. Awesome. So my next question then is for the panel. What advice do you have? What suggestions do you have? What can people do? And one of my favorite sayings is, I can't do everything, but I can do some things. I'm not going to let what I can't do get in the way of what I can do. So even if it's small, what are some suggestions that you have for folks who really want to make an impact in Web3?
May I start?
Please do, sir.
These gentlemen right here, what they talked about resonates with me, not from their perspective, but from what I'm about to say. Get in your communities. Get out there, get face to face, be the boots on the ground. This is everything that this Social Bees community has taught me to make a difference in people's lives and to do it the right way. You have that one-on-one interaction, that face to face. I don't care if it's Zoom. I don't care if it's a telephone. Yes, Zoom works easier because it's video conferencing and you can do show and tell. I don't care if you go out to a local library and host a 1-hour session on how to set up a cryptocurrency wallet. Or if you go more advanced, go to 201. I mean, when your audience is ready for it, obviously. But get out in your communities and be that difference. Be that change in your own communities. Hopefully that inspires somebody today.
And that's something that I've experienced with Will. I've experienced it with Ray. I've experienced it with Dusty in terms of that one-on-one and support. And it really does make a difference. So you can definitely do something to help. Sonia.
So one of the things I have friends who are in their 40s. I'm 36. I have friends in my 40s. I remember once in Arizona, someone on the stage said that, oh, if you're 35 and above, don't worry. It's okay for you to be nervous because I'm 25. I had never felt old before that. But now suddenly I was like, oh damn, I'm 35. I was 35 then. You are.
I'm over.
Well, but I'm not talking. Well, yes, but you have actually helped onboard me, right? And I'm talking about females, mothers that I have spoken to about Web3, DeFi, and one of the things, like, I don't have kids of my own, but what's very important is teaching the next Gen Zers or Gen double alphas that we have been talking about the spirit of Web3, because in a way what they are reading today is like porn, right? Where you get your sex education from porn and you have these unrealistic expectations. And today, what the Gen Zs are reading and what catches their attention is, oh, you have this CryptoPunk or even a lot of the rock pools where people have made millions of dollars. But that's not what Web3 is about. It is about unlocking opportunities. It's about unlocking this entirely new ecosystem, a financial system where A, everybody has an equal footing. B, you don't have the governments trying to take anything away from you. I'm not saying that the governments do a bad job.
Somebody's about to get
I'm saying
audited.
Yeah. Well, well, you have to pay your taxes. I've from Twitter Spaces, I've been one of like, okay, I don't mind paying my taxes because being in India, where I still have to pay 40% in taxes, and being in US, I was telling Cynthia the other day, in India, if I get a heart attack, no one's going to come get me in 7 minutes. In US, that will happen. So you have to see that where are your tax dollars going? So I personally, I hate paying the taxes on gas in California. But but that being said, you have to pay taxes when when you're getting the services in return. But that being said, the next Gen Zers, right? If they can really adopt it, and they are going to be the ones to adopt crypto more quicker, more faster than we can. And instead of them just listening to stories of how a 15-year-old made 50 million just selling NFTs, right? They need to hear stories of how an entire community got together, how the lives of people were transformed, right? And as you guys know, we had Snoop, who is one of our first token holders. And one of the reasons why I also appreciate him is because he broke out of the whole drug cycle and made something for himself. And these are the stories that need to be told to those Gen Zers and Gen Alpha so they understand that Web3 is about community. Web3 is about unlocking opportunities that have never even existed before. Web3 is about giving every disenfranchised community, minority, a voice at the table. Web3 is for everyone.
And before I continue to hear from my panel, I do want to just ask, does anybody have any comments or questions? We've got 7 minutes left. Kalu, I got to tell you, I am so impressed with this young person here. I mean, talk about the future
too.
of Web3.
Let's give her a round
Can
of
we get a
applause.
microphone for Kalu? Come on up here.
All right. This is just right here. Right here. Like, this is touching me. You feel me? So I had to come up here and say something. You, my man, he laid
All
it
day.
down. He laid it down.
All day.
He laid it down, and you put in action to it. I just wanted to, my comment was, because you asked the question.
She's here to answer the question.
I'm here to answer the question. I'm here to answer the question.
Let's go. Let's do it.
Because you asked for suggestions. You asked for suggestions, and I got the answers. So, allies, like he said, y'all can't do it for us. We're here. We're existing. Like I said last night, we're here. My people is here. We're here. So you can't do it for us. But you can help participate in us trying to get there because we are being gaslighted. You know what I'm saying? We are getting excluded from events and stuff like that in real life. And a lot of these influencers, are enabling it. You know what I'm saying? That's a dead mission with me and the rest of us that's on here and that's speaking on it. You know what I'm saying? So when y'all see something, say something. When something is wrong and you see somebody getting attacked, say something about it. Because I'm going to be 100 with you. And y'all know this very much well. They're going to hear y'all before they hear our voices. There's a reason why Black Lives Matter. There's a reason why we're sitting here and advocating for it as hard as we are. Because we're tired. You know what I'm saying? And this is a whole new application of technology that can shift a lot for our community. Not just our community, but for their community and for people that's not even in this room or know anything about it. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm doing in this space specifically. I'm building my own table. Like I was saying last night, NFT NYC, they completely blacken our people out. Like, they're not putting us in those rooms with the people that got millions of dollars and the big collectors and the big investors and the big influencers. They're not doing it for us. But we're the culture. So if you know, you know. You're going to have to mess with us to gain that attraction from the rest of the world. We're not going to give that to y'all for free. And if y'all not going to help us, we're going to do it ourselves. And we are. And we are. But as an ally, we're not going to exclude y'all. But don't just try to like do it on no excuse my language, half-ass shit. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
So
And get out a round of applause. Get out a round of applause. And I just want to, can I give my comment to that? Actually, it's to what you said, to the last thing that you said, as far as suggestions. And I think that was a great demonstration of what my suggestion was going to be, which was that we no longer have to beg. Like, I'm working on something called Web3 is your emancipation proclamation. And when you
hear it out and read it and look at it and parse through it. Everything that we've been saying, we've been trying to do since the 70s and these eras, right? We can actually do it. And we can do it with other people who want to help us do it. And they don't care about any of that other stuff that we have made an issue. All of us, everybody in this room has made race, gender, religion. All of us are complicit. So when you're behind that Web3 wall, if you will, and then you realize, when you're behind the wall, everybody's cool, everybody's equal. Then you get into IRL and you're like, oh, Will, you a white guy? I ain't even know. And I still don't care. That's the mindset. That's my. Oh, my bad. I left him hanging. My bad. That's my suggestion with this. Do analysis. Look for the things that move you, and make sure that everyone is. Don't look at who they are, what they look like. Are they all on the same accord? Do your analysis. Do your due diligence, and that's it.
Awesome. Thank you. Ty?
On me. All right, we're back. One thing I'll say, just suggestion for this to all happen. I went down a rabbit hole with Natasha in Arizona, and we kind of hit it here. And if we were really looking at mass adoption, especially in developing areas, at least outside of the United States that I've been, it's like we have to understand where we're at, and we got to take it back 100 times. Like, realize we're in this space and we understand in a sense what the hell we're talking about. But when you're talking to someone that doesn't even know what crypto is, doesn't even know what blockchain is, NFTs, like, you can go over their head like that. And so, like, when you go over someone's head, they do this. They, oh yeah, oh that's, and then they end. They go, oh, that's cool, but because they didn't understand anything you were saying. So the better we can dumb it down in a sense to where we started when we started learning, and being able to make that connection, because the more we keep talking over people's heads, the slower adoption is going to happen. And then secondly, the grandma on WhatsApp got brought up, and I was like, yeah, that's facts, because we do need to think of building things for grandma. Like, how can we make it seamless to where she's using the application, but she don't know she's using crypto. She doesn't know she's in NFTs. Both sides of that will increase adoption and help developing areas also get adoption.
All right. Thank you so much, Ty. One final remark. I think you have the floor, sir.
Yeah. So I only have one last thing to say, and that's like, if you meet someone where they're at, you can pretty much teach them how to make it their own. You understand what I'm saying? So find what it is that you love and make that, your Web3 experience.
Great way to end.
All right.
I'm just
Sure.
gonna add one last thing, and talking about advice, and this is probably going to be the least exciting advice given from everyone here, but I think it needs to be said because it's not specific to Web3. I would agree first off with find something that's your passion that you want to focus on, and even if you don't know about it, if you're willing to learn, focus on that. And the next thing, be willing to fail. And the reason I say that is most people don't act on what they want to do because they're afraid they will fail. And right now, with all the information, everything, I think everyone can pretty much learn if they're willing to. And as long as you're willing to try, you can try again and pivot. No company, no project ever started being what it ended up being. They always have to pivot and change, and just being able to try is what matters the most. And if you think there's a lot of experts, most people who say they're experts usually aren't, and you're early enough that you'll be able to become an expert in the next couple years, especially in this Web3 ecosystem and new technologies.
Thank you, Jorge. We've got to wrap this up, but I'd like to thank the entire panel: Ty, Sonia, Will, Jorge, Link, and Okasha, and our special guest, Kalu. Thanks for coming up, keeping it real for us. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you all.